Assalamu alaikum dear students. I Khola Maruf from Department of Psychology welcome you to the first psychology class. Dear students, you have opted for a subject that is modern as well as known to everyone. Psychology studies the behavior of not only humans but also animals. And you would be surprised to know that you were following the psychological principles even when you were not familiar with its name. Today is your first class, and I wish and hope that you will get a clear understanding of the subject and will develop a genuine interest in it. I wish you good luck and I welcome you to the world of psychology. Okay, as today is the first class, so let me give you an overview of the course content. There are total 9 chapters in this book. Chapter number 1, Introduction to Psychology. Chapter number 2, Methods of Research. Chapter number 3, Nervous System and Behavior. Chapter number 4, Sensation and Perception. Chapter number 5, Learning and Remembering. Chapter number 6, Motivational Behavior. Chapter number 7, Personality. Chapter number 8, Emotional Behavior. Chapter number 9, Higher Cognitive Processes. Apart from these 9 chapters, there are 8 practicals also. Dear students, all the topics included in this syllabus of psychology relate to your everyday life, and whatever you are going to read in this book would bear on your surroundings. However, the difference lies in how you perceived your surroundings earlier. By going through this whole course content, by going through the world of psychology, you will be developing a clear understanding and a new perception about the things around you. Okay, let's begin the chapter number 1, Introduction to Psychology. The main topics of this chapter are introduction, meaning and definition of psychology, number 2, goals of psychology, and number 3, role of psychologists in different fields and branches of psychology. And by going through the topics, you will be able to learn about psychology, its definition in a broader perspective. You will be able to know about yourselves and others, and you will be able to perceive things in a new, creative, innovative, and different way. Okay? When you opt for any subject, the first question arises that why you have opted for this subject or why do you study that subject? So, as you have opted for psychology, so the first question arises that why do we study psychology? What is the importance of psychology in our daily lives? Or how psychology helps us to adapt? How psychology helps us to look around ourselves, to look in the environment in a different and a new way. So, the study of psychology enables you to answer so many questions like why do personalities differ from one another? How does your brain function? Why do you suffer from stress? What does intelligence means? What is abnormal behavior? Why do you form opinion of others? Why do all people not have the same perception? Why is attention distracted? What are the reasons for losing memory? And so on. Beside all these questions, there are many other questions that may be coming in your mind. Psychologists not only seek answers to these questions but also discover reasons behind them, and they also suggest solutions to these queries. Apart from providing satisfactory answers, psychology will help you develop an insight that will enable you not only to interpret your own behavior but also to understand others' behaviors as well. Okay? Before going into the detail or before formally starting the topic or before formally going into the detail of what is psychology, let us see how or from where psychology began or what is the origin and beginning of psychology. So, the beginning of psychology is mired in controversy, I tell you. Experts or psychologists or different researchers and scholars differ as to when it began and when it broke off with philosophy and became an experimental science. Since psychology is concerned with man, it has been in existence since first man set foot on earth. In other words, the beginning of psychology coincided with the emergence of human history. However, people were not conscious of this fact because this knowledge was yet to be designated as the study of human and animal behavior. As humanity advanced, this knowledge of the study of mind and behavior also evolved, and experts and intellectuals later termed it psychology to distinguish it from other academic pursuits. The journey of the advancement of psychology is still going on, and its scope is widening day by day. Okay, what is psychology? Meaning and definition of psychology? Dear students, the study of any branch of knowledge is preceded by its definition. The definition of a subject clarifies it and makes it easier for us to determine its scope as well. In other words, the definition of a subject arouses an interest in the reader. We have, as far as psychology is concerned, we have different misconceptions and misperceptions about this subject. We feel that psychology is only related with abnormal people or abnormality, or psychology is only related with the abnormal part of human personality. But you will be studying later on that psychology not only deals with abnormality or abnormal aspect of human personality, but it is a very vast science. It is a vast subject that covers humanity, that covers man, his personality, his environment, his behavior, his mind, and so on. So let's begin with the word psychology. The word psychology is a combination of two Greek words, psyche and logos. Psyche means soul, mind, or self, and logos means study or knowledge. Thus, psychology is the study of behavior and mental processes of organisms. Psychology is a science of behavior and mind. What is behavior? Behavior refers to the observable actions. Behavior refers to the overt actions, the observable acts which we can see. And what is mind? Mind refers to cognitive aspect. Cognitive aspect of brain. Mind is the function of brain. Mind includes different cognitions. What are cognitions? Thoughts, feelings, our perceptions, memories, emotions, dreams, motives. These are the cognitive processes. So, psychology is the study of behavior, that is the observable actions, and mental processes, which are thoughts, feelings, sensation, perceptions, and so on. And is psychology a science? Yes, psychology is a science because in science we rely on facts, we rely on experimentation. Similar is the case in psychology that we rely on experiments to prove our hypothesis, and psychology is definitely an objective way to give answers to various questions. The data is collected and different psychological principles and methods are applied to confirm that data, to confirm the data regarding the behavior, personality, and any other factor of human life. There are certain definitions of psychology which we are going to read one by one in detail. Psychology as a science of soul, psychology as a science of mind, psychology as a science of consciousness, and psychology as a science of behavior. So let's begin. Psychology as a science of soul. Okay, what is soul? Dear students, soul is a concept that is familiar to all of us, but when we want to describe it precisely, we are shorter words. Okay, religiously, we think of soul as present inside us, and we believe that as long as we are alive, soul remains with us. But when we die, it leaves our body. Soul survives the bodily death. Similar notions of soul have been in circulation in all ages and times. That is, soul relates to body, but we cannot feel it or see it. Soul is immortal, and so on. In the beginning, soul was conceived to be present in all things and phenomena, but later it was confined to living things only. Clear? In ancient Greece, psychology was defined as a science of soul, and different philosophers of that age described soul in their own ways. So let's have an overview that how Greek philosophers described soul. Number one, Pythagoras. Pythagoras was a Greek philosopher. He postulated that soul is imprisoned in body and death frees soul from its prison cell. Body is mortal while soul is immortal. Body dies, but the soul is immortal, soul lives, soul is forever. So this was the concept of given by Pythagoras, that soul is an immortal entity and it is imprisoned in the body. And when man dies, the soul leaves the body. Socrates, another Greek philosopher, he was the first one who used the word psyche for soul. He said that soul is immortal. He also said that soul is immortal and body is mortal. He also said that acquisition of knowledge is very much important for the purification of soul. He talked about the purification of soul, that how soul can be purified. It can be purified by gaining a good knowledge, gaining an gaining gaining a good knowledge, gaining a good sense. Okay, the next Greek philosopher is Plato. According to Plato, soul and body are two separate systems that continue functioning until a person breathes his last. According to Plato, after one has taken one's dying breath, soul leaves the body. In other words, soul survives the death of body. Plato also believed that soul is a shadow that can be felt but whose reality cannot be known. Next Greek philosopher is Aristotle. According to Aristotle, soul is a living principle. He is called the first psychologist because he wrote on topics which form the subject matter of psychology. He wrote a book which is the first book on psychology. Apart from these Greek philosophers, there are many Muslim philosophers who also gave the concept of soul, and Muslim philosophers gave the concept of the soul in the light of Islamic teachings, in the light of religion Islam. So, dear students, we described psychology as a science of soul. We see that soul is an entity which resides the body, and as far as the soul resides in the body is alive. As soon as the soul leaves the body dies. ठीक है? Pythagoras, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle gave their own views of soul. This definition has got so much criticism also. We say that psychology is a science and science is based on observation and experimentation as well. But in contrast, when we say that psychology is a science of soul, so we cannot observe soul, we cannot experiment on soul. The first criticism is that we discard this definition that psychology is the study of soul only because soul cannot be felt, it is immaterial. And soul is a religious concept, whereas science should not be restricted to religion only. Soul is not a universal concept, and people of different religions and cultures take a different view of soul, which is unscientific. So, this definition is discarded. Second definition is psychology is a science of mind. Okay, psychology as a science of mind, before going into the detail, let's see what is mind. Mind is the sum total of person's psychic states, his emotions, his feelings, perceptions, memories, conscious and unconscious states. Brain reacts or responds to a stimulus influenced by mind. Brain is a physical entity. Brain can be touched, but we cannot see or we cannot touch the mind. Mind is an immaterial thing. Brain is a material thing. Brain reacts or responds to a stimulus influenced by mind. Mind refers to the cognitive processes. Mind is the storehouse of the cognitive processes, of these cognitive processes. Aspects of mental processes. Every mental process has three aspects: cognition, behavior, and affection. What is cognition? Acquiring knowledge, learning a skill, or knowing other matters is called cognition. And without cognition, we cannot know about anything. Okay? What is cognition? Cognition refers to the working of your mental processes. Without cognition, without thought process, you would not be able to interpret or organize any sort of stimulus inside your brain. Second is behavior or conation. The action that takes place in reaction to some urge or drive is conation. The desire or impulse to get something is termed as conation. And number three, affection. One's feelings about some situation, event, or thing. It may be positive, pleasant, negative, or unpleasant. Okay? There are three mental processes: cognition, behavior, and affection. ABC model. This is also known as ABC model. Affection refers to your feelings, behavior refers to your reactions, and cognition refers to your cognitive processes, your interpretation organization of the stimulus. Structure or parts of mind. Okay, there are three parts of mind: conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. Let's have a detailed account of all these three parts of mind. Number one, conscious. What is conscious? Those mental states that we are aware of at a moment. Conscious, conscious or consciousness refers to the immediate awareness. Okay, the things which we are aware of are present in the conscious part of our mind. For example, I am delivering a lecture to you right now, and I am consciously, my conscious mind is working. ठीक है? The immediate awareness refers to your conscious part of mind. The things which you are aware of at the present moment refers to the conscious part of mind. Unconscious, the part of mind that we are not directly aware of, and different forgotten, repressed, dark images are present in our unconscious part of mind. The things which we do not want to remember, the accidents of our life, the dark parts of our personality, we push, we throw them to the unconscious part of mind. We are not directly aware of the unconscious part of mind, but this unconscious part of mind is indirectly affecting our conscious part of mind. The third part of mind is subconscious. Dear students, certain conscious states make their way to subconscious and get stored there. We cannot access them immediately. Once the mental contents leave the conscious part of mind, they become subconscious. In psychology, the subconscious is the part of mind that is not currently in focal awareness, the part of mind which we are not currently aware of, but with a little clue, with a little stimulus, with a little recall, we can bring our subconscious into the conscious part of mind. Okay, different philosophers have given their own views regarding mind. Number one, Plato. Plato was a Greek philosopher. He gave the concept of mind and he said that mind is identical with soul. We see that Plato gave the concept of soul, that as far as soul resides the body is alive. Similarly, he said that mind is identical with soul. Mind is a living principle which gives life to the human body. If mind is not working, the human body is not alive. Human body cannot function properly. The next philosopher who gave the description of mind is Aristotle. According to Aristotle, mind is a function of body, and mental processes are caused by environmental factors. Mind is a function of body. It means that whatever the body takes from the external environment is processed inside the brain, inside the mind. For example, we get an external stimulus. This stimulus is sensed by the physical organs, is sensed by the sensory organs. Then this message is taken inside the brain, and the mind and the brain receives that message, perceives that message, interprets, organizes, and gives meaning to that message. And secondly, he said that mental processes are caused by environmental factors. So, whatever resides inside your mind is actually the result of external stimulus, external environment. The next philosopher, the next contributor, John Locke. According to John Locke, mind is a blank slate by birth. Mind is blank by birth. For this, he used the term tabula rasa. Mind is tabula rasa or blank slate. And with experiences, we imprint things on mind. Initially, mind is blank. Different ideas then imprint on this mind. Having analyzed them, the individual organizes these imprints and then give them a meaning, and then later on these ideas or images which are stored inside the mind can be used. Wilhelm Wundt, he established the first lab of psychology. He emphasized the importance of study of mental processes and he used a method called introspection. He emphasized the importance of mental processes. He said that mental processes are very much important in the perception of external environment. He used the method called introspection. Introspection is the method in which we can study the cognitions or mental processes of human beings. Wundt's introspection method was Wundt's introspection method worked on the principle that he used to show his clients different stimulus, and the clients were asked to tell their immediate awareness or immediate conscious awareness of that stimulus, that what they are thinking about that stimulus. The next philosopher, the next contributor, Edward Bradford Titchener, he defined psychology as a science of mental processes. Psychology is a science of mental processes. Okay, now characteristics of mind. Mind is active and sensitive to all types of experiences. Number one, mind is an active entity and mind is sensitive to all type of stimulus. We cannot say that mind will take only certain stimulus and will be closed upon the emergence of different other stimulus. No, mind is an active and sensitive entity, and all the time, mind is taking different messages from different organs of the body. Mind is continuous. Present, past, and future experiences form a continuity. Mind is a complete unit. Mental processes such as imagination, thinking, feeling do not function independently. Mind is a complete unit and different mental processes work in collaboration with each other. Mind is non-matter, whereas brain is made of flesh and has weight. Mind is related to brain. Mental processes are subjective to every person. Every person has his own mental processes. Or we can say that every person has his own perception of the world around him. Suppose, for example, I show you a stimulus, you all will be having a different response to that stimulus because you all have your subjective feelings and subjective mental processes. Mental processes go on non-stop and mental states keep on changing. So this was the description of psychology as a study of, or psychology as a study of mind. This theory or this definition was also criticized. Mental processes can be observed only subjectively. No person has direct access to someone else's mental processes. We cannot analyze mental processes of other people objectively. We can guess or we can study the mental processes, but we are not sure, we cannot be sure that we are analyzing the processes accurately. Since mental processes go on all the time, they can neither be examined nor verified. And mind is immaterial, we cannot perform scientific experiments on it without seeing or feeling it. This is a very major point. If psychology is mere science of mental processes, then animals, babies, and mentally sick persons will have to be excluded from its scope because they cannot study their own mental processes. Okay, now come to the third definition of psychology, psychology as a science of consciousness. What is consciousness? Consciousness means immediate awareness. Consciousness refers to immediate awareness. We say that if psychology is called the science of consciousness, it will imply that psychology is concerned with an individual's conscious states. There are different psychologists who gave the view regarding psychology as a science of consciousness. Number one, John Dewey. John Dewey was an American psychologist and a functionalist also. He defined psychology as a science of consciousness. He said that consciousness is goal oriented and individual can analyze his own consciousness. Consciousness is goal oriented means that as consciousness refers to the immediate awareness, as consciousness refers to the present aspect of the mind, so it is goal oriented. And secondly, we can analyze our consciousness. I can analyze my immediate feelings and perceptions about the things around. William James, he coined the term stream of consciousness. He said that psychology is concerned with the flow of conscious thoughts. By stream of consciousness, he said that consciousness flows like a stream. Our immediate awareness flows like a stream. We are taking different stimulus and interpreting and giving meaning to those stimulus in our mind. Consciousness flows like a stream. Consciousness is non-stop. It is working. It is flowing. It is a flow of thoughts. He divided consciousness into two parts. Focal consciousness. Focal consciousness is a part of consciousness which is the focus of attention. And marginal consciousness is a part of consciousness other than the focal consciousness. So, focal consciousness is a part of consciousness to which I am paying full attention at the present moment. For example, I am attending to a phone call. This is my focal consciousness. And the things which are apart from attending a phone call, which are going through in my mind, they refer to the marginal consciousness. Okay, this theory or this definition was also criticized as consciousness is an unscientific concept because we cannot see the consciousness, we cannot experiment on the conscious part of mind. Conscious experiences are subjective states, they cannot be read or they cannot be studied objectively. By confining psychology to study of consciousness only, we would exclude the subconscious and unconscious parts of mind. And as we have read earlier, that mind has three parts: conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. By only relying on the conscious part of mind, we are denying the other two parts of the mind. Conscious states of animals, children, and patients cannot be analyzed as well. Another criticism on this definition is that conscious states of animals, children, and patients cannot be analyzed precisely or objectively. The last definition: psychology as a science of behavior. What is behavior? Behavior refers to all the observable actions of organisms. Behaviorists and psychologists argue that change in the environment are not only seen when the behaviors are observable, which are also called overt behaviors. Human actions, however, are not limited to observable actions only, and there are a wide range of emotions, thoughts, processes which are not seen or sensed. So, we can say that behavior refers to the observable actions as well as the covert actions also. Now we will discuss the psychologist who introduced psychology as a science of behavior. Number one, Edward Lee Thorndike. Thorndike performed experiments on different animals and he studied their behavior objectively. He introduced the concept of learning through trial and error. He experimented on different animals and he gave a theory of learning. He believed in trial and error learning. Number two, J.B. Watson. He considered study of behavior essential for objective and scientific study of organisms. According to him, an individual's physical, social, and psychological problems can be studied through outward observation. According to Watson, we can study the individual's behavior through his outward observation as well. Human behavior can be controlled through reward and punishment. We can channelize or we can control human behavior by giving them rewards and punishments as well. Watson said that man learns from his environment. Whatever actions we perform in our daily life, they are learned. He discarded the concept or the notion of subconscious or unconscious part of mind. Another important thing is the stimulus response phenomena or stimulus response formula. Stimulus is a force that works on an individual, and response is the reaction to that force. He said that whenever a stimulus occurs, the body gives response in a form of certain behavior. Ian Pavlov. Ian Pavlov was a Russian physiologist. He gave the method of classical conditioning. What is classical conditioning? Classical conditioning is a method in which response producing stimulus is paired with a neutral stimulus. So, the neutral stimulus alone produces a response. For example, in advertisements, we pair the neutral stimulus with a response producing stimulus when we want to sell any product. We pair a neutral stimulus with a response producing stimulus, and when this neutral stimulus is presented alone, so this brings a response in an individual. B.F. Skinner, he introduced the method of operant conditioning. What is operant conditioning? Operant conditioning refers that behavior can be controlled through reward and punishment. We can modify the behavior of individuals by giving them rewards and punishments. Okay, this definition was also criticized because Watson attached too much importance to the behavior and he discarded mental processes. He totally relied on overt behavior, behavior that can be observed. By doing this, he discarded the mental processes, he discarded the unconscious part of mind as well. Secondly, the stimulus response theory interprets human behavior mechanically. When we talk about the stimulus response formula, we say that a certain stimulus comes and this stimulus uh, evokes a response in an individual. So, this is sort of a mechanical description. Feelings and emotions have not been given importance in this theory, in this definition, and the value of conditioning individuals' behavior under environmental factors has been underlined, whereas important factors like inner drive have been ignored. Okay, now let's have an explanation of the definition of psychology. Psychology is the science of organisms' behavior and mental processes. This definition requires the explanation of following concepts: number one, organism; number two, science; number three, behavior; and number four, mental processes. Organism. What is an organism? Everything that is animate and has brain is an organism. Psychology carries out the study and observation of organism. Number one. Okay, number two, science. Science involves the objective and standard way of acquiring knowledge. It studies the cause and effect relationship under controlled conditions and it predicts. So, psychology follow these methods. Psychology studies the cause and effect relationship of different behaviors. Psychology predicts different behaviors, and psychology also involves the objective way of acquiring knowledge of any behavior or any personality trait or any reaction or action of organism. Number three, behavior. Behavior refers to individual responses. To sit, stand, walk, speak, express anger or happiness all illustrate behavior. Number four, mental processes. The individual's feelings, thoughts, intentions, imagination, wishes are all mental processes. Behavior reflects one's mental processes. Okay, by going through the definition of psychology, we come to the conclusion that is psychology a science? Yes, psychology is a science because science relies on facts, science relies on experimentation, science relies on predictions. Similarly, psychology relies on facts, psychology predicts the future behavior, and so on. So, dear students, this was the definition and introduction of psychology. I hope and wish that this psychology lecture will prove beneficial for you. So, thank you. Inshallah, I'll be uh, coming again with the second lecture. Till then, Allah Hafiz.